What is going on, football fans? Back at it with another video. And in this video, I'm going to be talking some broad NFL as there were some big trades that went down today. Obviously, the New England Patriots and the San Francisco 49ers went out and addressed what they thought were their biggest weaknesses on their football team. Not that they had many. I mean, combined, they are 13-0, and they're the only two unbeaten teams left in the league. The Niners at 6-0, the Patriots at 7-0. Now, New England hasn't really beaten anybody yet, but, I mean, the Patriots go 14-2 every year, and we know they're headed back to the playoffs and probably headed back to the Super Bowl. Their defense so far this year is on another level, especially off of last night's performance where they absolutely obliterated the Jets 33-0, and the defense was amazing in the performance. And they came into the year, in terms of the wide receiver position, kind of not with a lot of talent there, especially with Rob Gronkowski retiring, Brady's favorite target over the last 5 years or so. So with Gronkowski out, the Patriots go out and they bring in Antonio Brown, and they get him for pennies on the dollar. Then they have to release him because of his off-the-field nonsense. Had he stayed there, they would have been unbeatable. Now with Brown's departure, Belichick, even though they are 7-0, is thinking Super Bowl, and he knows that they will need some kind of playmaker at that position. So he goes out and gets Mohamed Sanu, the former Rutgers standout. He's been in the league now for 8 years. He's 30 years of age, from the Atlanta Falcons. Now, Sanu last year had his career year. He caught for about 835 yards or so with 4 scores, which was the best year he's ever had since playing in the NFL. This year, he's been mediocre at best through, I believe, 7 games. He has 313 yards, 1 touchdown, 33 receptions. But we all know Belichick and Brady get the most out of talent, and I believe that they will here. Kind of reminds me of like a Deion Branch type of receiver that'll probably come in and thrive with Tom Brady throwing him the football. He still has 1 year left on his contract, where the Patriots will pay him $6.5 million in 2020, which is not much for a pretty good wide receiver at the age of 31 next year. He will then hit free agency. In terms of, looking over the trade and seeing who won, I think both teams won. Because I think the Patriots are going to win a Super Bowl this year, and if they're not, they're certainly probably going to get there. And if they win, who cares? And they got Sanu. And in terms of the Falcons, this team is looking to sell. They've announced that. They want to get rid of Vic Beasley. Sanu was on their list. They get a second-round pick. Now, granted, it's probably going to be the 64th pick overall, or 63rd, maybe 62nd. It's going to be a very late second-round pick. But regardless, to get that pick for Mohamed Sanu, a guy who's been a okay wide receiver throughout his career, approaching the, he's at 30. I think it's a good haul by the Atlanta Falcons. I think they did a good job here, and I think it makes sense for both teams though, because the Patriots, I think they're willing to make the move because they know that he may be that piece that puts them over the top when they get to where they need to get. So I think it makes sense for both teams. It's a hefty price tag by the Patriots, but they're in a situation where I think it's worth going for, being that Brady's getting up there in age and they're trying to win as many Super Bowls as they possibly can. And their biggest weakness is probably a playmaker at the wide receiver spot, especially, after they lost Antonio Brown. Now, going to the San Francisco 49ers, the 49ers have surprised a lot of people this year, coming out of the gate at 6-0. I'll tell you what, they surprised me. I thought they'd be improved. Not this improved. Now, they did look sluggish last week, only beating the Washington Redskins 9-0. They haven't played many great teams yet, so they haven't really been battle-tested. But this is a team that is definitely going to the playoffs. And this was their biggest weakness. They went into the draft this year. Everybody knew that they didn't have much talent at the wide receiver spot, which is why they spent a second and third round pick at the position. They brought in Deebo Samuel, who actually leads the team in receiving yards through 6 games. The problem is it's not a very high total. Samuel leads the team with 15 catches for 168 yards through 6 games, and the team as a whole through 6 contests only has 679 yards receiving at the wide receiver position. Of course, Kittle's a big part of their offense, but Garoppolo and that offense need some kind of playmaker, and that's exactly what they did today when they went out and got Emmanuel Sanders, who is still a pretty good pro. He's going to be a free agent next year, so this is going to be a 1-year rental. But as recently as last year, the guy had 868 yards in just 12 games and 4 touchdowns. He is a 2-time Pro Bowler, and I think it is a huge get for the 49ers. I think this is a piece that actually may make them a legitimate Super Bowl contender. When you look around the NFC, it's the 49ers, the Saints, the Packers. But being undefeated, if they could get that home field advantage, the 49ers are a legit team that could go to a Super Bowl. Their offensive line is very good. Their defense is pretty strong. And Garoppolo hasn't even played great yet. If Jimmy G gets going, especially now if he adds a nice piece here in Sanders, the 49ers have really put themselves in a spot to potentially contend to win that Lombardi trophy. In terms of what they gave up a third and fourth round pick in the 2020 draft to get Sanders and a fifth round pick from the Broncos. So the Broncos get a third and a fourth. Again, probably will be late third and fourths, but beggars can't be choosers. He's going to be a free agent at the end of the year. You're 2-5. You're sellers. It's going to probably be a situation that the Giants are in with Janoris Jenkins, and they got the most that they possibly could. I think it's a good move, specifically for the San Francisco 49ers. I think it's a great move. I think they needed a wide receiver. I think Sanders still has a lot left in the tank, and I think he's a great one-year rental. If you want to bring him back, you can on a short-term deal, but for this year, Sanders could be that veteran presence that they need at that wide receiver position to give them another threat. They have great, athletes in the running game. They have probably the best tight end in football in Kittle, and now you bring in a nice established receiver. So, great move by both teams to set themselves up to be Super Bowl contenders. Now, I'm not going to say the 49ers are the favorite out of the NFC, but they're in the discussion. As always, guys, if you liked what you watched, please subscribe. Drop a comment. Maybe give me a little thumbs up. Cheers.